Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Nicole's secrets from Holly Sarah's house call. Tate's Salem transfer. Days of Our Lives reveals that EJ DiMera and Nicole DiMera heard Holly Jonas coughing on the examiner before she called for her mama. Once Nicole and EJ rushed out of bed, they joined a confused and swimmy Holly in her room. Holly asked what time it was and kept wondering if the party was over, so she was still enough out of it and had no idea so important time had passed. Nicole was careful not to warn Holly to the fact that it was nearly March as she explained that she'd been in the sanitarium. Although Nicole said Holly was home now and comforted her, Holly still sounded bewildered and plotted to get further than a many words out. In the city forecourt on Wednesday's day's occasion, Chad DiMera picked up some treats from Sweet Bits and banged into Sarah Horton. That led to some talk about Johnny DiMera and Chanel DiMera's marriage do-over, as well as EJ's turndown to believe Xander Cook had been framed. Once EJ called about Holly waking up, Sarah said she'd be right over. Although Sarah couldn't break Croker case confidentiality, she felt certain that Chad would get a call from his family soon. After Sarah left on DOL's show, Chad ran into Stephanie Johnson and said he was sorry since he heard about Everett Lynch aka Bobby Stein. Stephanie considered the possibility that she fell for a pathological fabricator and accepted Chad's assignation to accompany her to the Horton house to get her mind off effects. Chad had to take some snaps for the insurance adjusters, so he showed Stephanie the damage and filled her in on the Horton beautifiers surviving the fire. Stephanie was also pleased to see that Tom Horton and Alice Horton's president made it through the fire without so important as a mark. EJ ultimately called Chad to tell him about Holly waking up, so Chad was happy to hear it. There was no progress in the disquisition into the fire and the phone call Chad entered that night, but EJ tried to stay auspicious. Stephanie was glad to hear about Holly as well and questioned Chad about the phone call, so he told her about the malformed voice and the portentous communication that he assumed came from Clyde Weston. Back at the DiMera manse, Sarah did a brief examination of Holly, who was still disoriented and kept falling asleep. Still, Sarah was pleased with the test results and allowed it amazing that Holly indeed opened her eyes. After Sarah expressed stopgap for Holly's full recovery, she gave Nicole some instructions on how to watch for her son and wanted to do further tests at the sanitarium once Holly had a chance to get shaped. There was some pressure between Sarah and EJ due to the whole Xander situation, so EJ made himself scarce. Nicole was sorry, but Sarah acted like it was fine since minding for Holly was her precedence. That said, Sarah wasn't sure how to attune the loving stepfather interpretation of EJ with the bone, who refused to consider that Xander had been set up. Nicole claimed the verity would come out, so Sarah said it had better since she knew deep in her soul that Xander was innocent. In the domain on day's occasion, Alex Kyriakis was detracted as he literally ran into Kristen DiMera, so that led to a discussion about what was on his mind. Kristen allowed. Alex was a case of elaboration in rear when she set up out. Alex bought Teresa Donovan a ring, let her get agitated over it and also didn't propose. Alex defended his decision to back out of popping the question due to the meeting he attended for Mates of Addicts, not to mention Tate Black complicated effects for him as well. Kristen was surprised Teresa moved out after Alex broke her heart. Since Teresa moved in with Brady Black, Kristen fumed and rode with Alex over whether she could get her partner back. Kristen ultimately decided to make up a reason to visit the townhouse and suggested about Teresa demanding to pay a visit there, too. Coming on day's occasion, Brady and Teresa bothered about Tate's recent outburst. Although Brady tried to tell himself that all teenage boys abominated their parents at some point, Teresa didn't suppose Tate should take his issues out on them. When Tate called, Teresa put him on speakerphone and wondered if he was going to apologize. Tate had updates rather since a spot opened up at a halfway house in Salem. Teresa and Brady were eager to have Tate closer to home, but Tate acted like that was a negative thing for him and remained on the hedge about indeed taking the spot. Kristen showed up under the guise of giving Brady the Valentine's Day card that Rachel Black taped back together. Although Kristen suggested visiting Rachel as a platoon and proving they could work out their issues, Brady argued that they couldn't work out their issues at all and wanted Kristen to leave. When Alex arrived, Brady sarcastically claimed that now it was a party. Alex wanted to have an honest discussion with Teresa, but she shut him down and ultimately took Tate's follow-up call. Since Tate had decided to take the spot in the Salem halfway house, Brady and Teresa hugged over the transfer news. Kristen and Alex were stuck looking jealous near. Sarah supports Xander, Holly wakes up, Kristen and Alex meet, Chad comforts Stephanie. Days of our lives indicate that Sarah Horton supports Xander Cook. Sarah wants her man free. Holly Jonas eventually wakes up from her coma, but she may not be any help to Tate Black. Kristen DiMera will compare notes on their rearmost scheme. Chad DiMera will console Stephanie Johnson. Sarah Horton is determined to free Xander Cook. Days of our lives spoilers reveal that Sarah may have left Xander because he was a felonious, but she's singing a different tune now that she has seen how good he's with their son. Sarah is induced that Xander is being set up, and so is his kinsman, Justin Kiriakis. Still, persuading the DA may be a different story because E.J. DiMera hates him. It clearly doesn't help matters that Stephen DiMera is the one who actually shot Harris Michaels. Will Harris flash back who shot him before Stephen gets another chance to take him out? How far will Sarah go to prove Xander's innocence and her faith in him? DOL Holly Jonas wakes up from her coma. Holly overdosed on New Year's Eve on her first date with Tate. Unfortunately, Holly will wake up and not flash back what happened. Holly was the bone who got the medicines and tried to get Tate to do them with her, and because of that Tate is in a recovery installation. EJ is determined to make Tate pay when he's fully innocent. Will Holly flash back the verity and save Tate? Tate, on the other hand, wants nothing to do with his parents after their last trip to see him. Tate refuses to see either of them. Tate blames his parents for his dilemma, but they had nothing to do with him landing there. Tate refused to let his father take the blame for the medicines. Will Holly's recovery make Tate more accepting of them? Days of our lives. Sarah supports Xander, Holly wakes up, Kristen and Alex meet, Chad comforts Stephanie. Days of our lives. Kristen DiMera and Alex Kiriakis compare notes. Kristen and Alex will touch base and compare notes about Teresa Donovan and Brady Black. Now that Teresa stormed off and went to Marlena Evans after Thenon proposal, Teresa may be indeed happier to revitalize effects with Brady rather of going back to Alex. Chad was floored to learn about Everett Lynch and Bobby Stein in their interview with Jada Hunter. Now Chad is offering Isaac's girlfriend a shoulder to cry on. How long will it be before Stephanie is ready to go back to Chad and his children? Will Stephanie wash her hands of Everett for good this time? Sarah defends Xander to EJ, but DA only hopeless for a win? Days of our lives and updates. Sarah Horton will defend Xander Cook to EJ DiMera. But it seems like the DA's only hopeless for a palm, because EJ can't get once Xander's history as a hitman and kidnapper. Days of our lives. EJ DiMera only sees what was, not what is. EJ only sees what was, not what is, in respects to Xander, who he knows was a hitman in the history and a pincher, not to mention hijacking. He abducted Susan Banks, EJ's mama, and kept her in a theater chalet, frighting her dressed as a zany, and that's what led to her presumed death. Days of our lives. Sarah defends Xander to EJ, but DA only hopeless for a win? Sarah remembers all that and agrees it was obvious, but Xander's a different man now, and father to their son. Victoria Horton being a father has changed him. Victoria disassociated Xander after that hijacking incident, so she knows exactly what that was about. It took a long time to forgive him, but now she can see the change and trusts him implicitly. DOL Justin Kiriakis stands behind Xander Cook. Justin Kiriakis stands behind Xander, and indeed Rafe Hernandez believes he was framed, but EJ seems to be out for a palm only and will end here. Sarah isn't getting anywhere with impacting EJ to be fair and act with no prejudice. EJ's turning into another Melinda Trask. Justin and Xander flashback. Well, how Trask would do anything, including buying judges to get a palm, didn't matter if the defendant was innocent or shamefaced. All it signified was that Trask won the case. Numerous innocent lives were ruined during her times-long reign of terror in the courthouse, and now EJ is acting just like her. Xander's veritably near to telling what he knows about EJ's history with Clyde Weston, but he has to stay until Mayor Paulina Price as well. Days of our lives. Sarah Horton keeps believing. As for Sarah, she keeps believing in Xander, and EJ should know Xander's winning Rafe and Justin's confidence isn't easy. Someone with access to the crime scene and Sarah and Xander's apartment had to have planted the gun.